All right, so I've got Gray Hall with GK Houses with me. Gray, how's it going?
Good man. Thanks for having me on here, Chris.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this. As you know, we get lots of people asking us questions how the rental market is going. And so I thought the best way would be to talk to you directly, kind of see what you're seeing on the ground since you're in the trenches.
Yep.
So give everyone just a quick rundown on who you and GK Houses are.
Yeah, so I'm the team leader for GK Houses. We're a property management company. We've got 5 markets nationally. And so I'm out here in charge of all of Colorado. So it started in Birmingham, Alabama. We're out here in Denver, Boulder, and Fort Collins. So manage most of the Front Range, not in Colorado Springs yet, but yeah, we manage about 700 houses out here. So from majority single family, we've got a lot of small multi that's very common out here in Denver, and then up to kind of some small. We manage up to 49 units, and so that's kind of our sweet spot is the single family and small multifamily.
Great. So let's jump into the rental payment collections or non-collections for the month. And I know you got some data. So where do you want to start? Because I know you pulled a few months of data. What's the easiest spot for you to start with?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of talk about this year, and then we'll kind of look at year-over-year changes. So I think this year is what everybody's focused on. So we've seen pretty strong collections. So March we collected 98%. April we collected 97.5%, so almost 98%. And then this month, kind of through today, we're at 93%. And so, kind of looking year over year, it's changed less.
So let me stop. Just everyone knows, like, so we're recording this on May 8th, so we're
Correct.
just about a week into May. So you said you're at 93.5%?
Yeah, so we're at 93.5%. With a lot of the people who've been affected, we've kind of proactively reached out and got payment agreements with a lot of these people who have been affected by COVID. A lot of those payment agreements are kind of paying half on the 1st and half on the 15th. So I'd expect the month to end somewhere in the 96 to 97% range. It's kind of still untold, but we've got stimulus checks coming through. But now we're really kind of into the long stretch of people potentially not being able to work. So potentially going to kind of see a 1 to 2% drop off is kind of what I expect for the end of the month. And so this is kind of normal for where we've been at on the 8th of the previous 2 months.
Okay, so you said this is, you're being around that the low 90, low to mid 90s is pretty normal for the end of first week of the month?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, in the COVID for like March, April, and this month. And so just since we've had these payment plans, there's been some delay just with tenants getting in rent payments. And so, and, you know, working remotely, we've got tenants drop off rent and we're probably a day or two after collecting. So data's as good as it can be right now. But I think probably once the 15th or the 20th of the month, that's when all the rent that we're expecting to get in will be in.
And so when you gave this at 93.5%, is that for like full rent collected or any rent collected?
That's for, yeah, of all rent collected.
So like a full, like if tenant pays you, like if I paid you like half month's rent, am I included in that rent payment?
Well, yeah, the half. So this is just I pulled the rent roll, and so the total amount of rent of all of our rented properties, less kind of what's outstanding. So if they make a partial payment, it'll be counted in there. It's not counted as a full rent payment. We're just looking at the dollars and cents of total rent we expect, and then total rent we've collected. So those are all the numbers I've been referencing is the rent roll.
Okay. So let me just repeat this so me and all the listeners can listen. So let's just say on average you collect $100 a month for simplicity.
Yep.
You're basically saying you're at 93.5 cents on every dollar you're supposed to collect right now.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Wow. Okay. So that seems higher than I was expecting. So that's good news to me.
Yeah, no, that's really good news. I mean, I was very pleasantly surprised whenever I looked at the total dollar amount. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about this. I mean, it's great for our owners because that's the biggest question that they've had is, are my tenants going to pay? Thankfully, we've seen tenants value their house and wanting to make payment arrangements. They've been great at reaching out if they do have issues, and we've been trying to work with them. So, yeah, I mean, these numbers from last year are hardly different. I mean, we're talking, 0.1% different March year over year of the total
Really?
versus delinquent. Yeah. And then, April was a little worse. April was 0.9% different from last year. And so we were down, 0.9% from what we collected last year from a percentage standpoint. But overall, very strong rent collections. So I'm very pleasantly surprised that certainly is, that's the one job that we've got as PMs is to collect rent. And so that certainly makes our communication with owners, a lot easier when tenants are paying.
Do you have like a rough feel? Because I know you said about 700 properties. Like, are there any tenants that are just like flat out like I can pay nothing, or they're saying, hey, I know there's like an eviction moratorium, and they're giving you the middle finger? Are you getting any of those?
Maybe one or two. I've seen one or two of those come across. For the most part, that has not happened. But hey, that happens outside of COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
you have those tenants. You're just gonna, they're gonna want to be evicted. Essentially, it's kind of what it seems like. So, no, I think thankfully we haven't seen too many tenants. I think that they're valuing their home and wanting to kind of make good on their promise.
That is outstanding. And now I know you've got, from here to Fort Collins and, single families up to, mid-sized multis. Are you seeing any specific trends in different locations or property types as far as like rent payments or non-rent payments?
No, I mean no, not necessarily. I kind of
Okay.
out of the data. Yeah, nothing really is different.
And something you had mentioned to me earlier was that you were probably going to see a backlog of maintenance, right? Can you repeat that for our listeners?
Yeah. What we're seeing is a significant drop off in maintenance requests submitted. And so we're tracking this on a daily basis. We talk about all the work that kind of came in that, throughout the previous day. And once the stay-at-home order went in place in Colorado, just significant drop-off, and it's understandable. I mean, we're trying not to go in, tenants' houses unless it's something that we need to repair because it just increases the likelihoods. We've got a responsibility to maintain the homes, but tenants don't want us in their homes for anything that's not an emergency. Now, if it's water heater, they're calling us and they've got no problem with us coming in there. But yeah, so we've seen significant drop-off, and what some people kind of in the industry have predicted is there's just this backlog. So there's just kind of normal level of maintenance that's going to happen on all your level of properties. And the number that is coming in has significantly dropped. And so we're going to see an increase once the stay-at-home orders kind of lift. We know more about testing. We know more about how the disease spreads. And so, maybe sometime later this summer, once things start to open up, I think all of that's going to hit. And so maintenance costs the first 2 quarters of the year are going to be a lot lower for owners, I would expect. That doesn't mean that maintenance doesn't need to be happening. So it's just kind of getting deferred and pushed down. And so, maybe we don't know when that's going to happen, but at some point, all these maintenance items are going to they're going to be called in. And so we're kind of preparing for that. If it happens in the middle of summer when we've got all our tenants moving out, we've got rehabs going on, and then we're going to have backlog maintenance. And so that's when the fun should start.
All right. And what are you seeing on like the leasing front? How slow or how bad is it?
Good question. Really, again, dropped off whenever the stay-at-home order went, kind of mid-March. Then we weren't able to show occupied properties anymore. And so, kind of some of the changes that we've had because of that is we're only showing vacant properties. So, seeing a drop down in showings, but also applications. I mean, very few people these days are putting in an application without seeing the home, and so that kind of limits our ability. But what I've seen in the past 3 weeks, applications doubled, showings went up again. Even in the past week, it's really starting to feel like summer again. And so I think the longer we're kind of further away from the stay-at-home order, I'm seeing people moving from out of state again. That kind of everything got put on pause for a little bit for I think of those 6 weeks. And so I think even summer came early. With summer, with people being out of school and the colleges not being there, we're starting to see some of the activity that we started. Maybe you would see June. It's kind of getting pushed sooner, and so. I know this week we had a really big week of leasing. We leased 6 properties with tenants currently in them, and so there are tenants signing leases with kind of sight unseen. And so it's been encouraging that it's picked up. We want to fill these vacancies for owners, and so I'm hopeful that kind of like the delayed period is behind us. But a lot of this is just kind of dealing with the unknown and kind of pivoting, and so we've just had to kind of be agile in the way that we're leasing houses.
Are you seeing, for any of your owners, have you had to do like, rent drops or rent concessions to get things filled over the last, 6 weeks or so?
We've been more aggressive with that. We've been trying to educate our owners that just in the current environment with people more nervous to move, that kind of shrinks the size of the applicant. So we've done that. I don't feel like it's anything drastically different. I think that we're trying to get ahead of the communication and probably just be more aggressive to kind of keep the vacancy time down. But kind of normal drops, $50 or $100 on a $2,000 a month house. We're not dropping at 500. We're not dropping around 5%. It might be within that 5 to 10% range, which is kind of is normal. But seeing rent soften across markets, but it's nothing that's like super concerning to me, as an investor or property manager.
And do you think like those rent drops, do you think that's just kind of like a nature of the beast the last 6 weeks? Like, hey, it's better to drop it $50, get someone in there
Correct.
2 months earlier. So you think that's just kind of like that was a moment in time, and probably going forward, you won't be doing as many drops?
Yeah, I think so. And it kind of comes with knowing your owners and kind of what's their situation. Some owners are, well capitalized and they're okay to kind of wait out for a higher rent amount, but it is a numbers game that you could either wait 30 days or you could drop it $100 now. And so it's kind of that, laying it up for the owners. Hey, your opportunity cost for these next 6 weeks is this. We recommend you go ahead and drop it down while things are uncertain. Let's put a little certainty back into your life. It's kind of how we're trying to approach it, with those drops.
Now, you're in an interesting position compared to a lot of other, property managers out here in the Front Range. And I hopefully don't catch you off guard with this question, but since, GK Houses in, is like 5 different markets, overall, do you have a sense, is Denver kind of on the same average as the other markets, better or worse than the other markets you guys are in? Or do you know?
With rent collection?
Yeah, just rent collection and activity and.
Yeah, no, that's
just like a feeling of this, just giving it a feel.
Yeah, I think like a lot of our markets are in the South, and so those have been less kind of restricted with stay-at-home orders. So Colorado's kind of been more strict in that sense, but we've seen similar trends with maintenance. I'd say even Colorado, we're getting less maintenance requests than say our Birmingham, Alabama market. So I feel like those markets have been less affected, but still affected overall. Leasing is very similar. We saw very kind of similar. All markets jump up in applications received and showings received. And then rent collection, I've got some data. It's the same thing. It's kind of 1% off where we were last year. So it's kind of nationwide. Yeah, we've got this unique perspective where we can see kind of 5 different markets and how they're operating. It's different, different percentage scales. I think for Birmingham, Alabama, and some of these other markets, they're kind of threshold for what they consider good. Rent collection is a little bit lower than Denver. Denver's just a really good market for rent collection historically. And so, very similar trends across all the markets. Nothing has drastically been different in any of the ones that we manage in.
Great. So those are all the questions I had lined up for you. Got any final data points or commentary you want to share with the listeners before we wrap things up?
So one cool thing that, I've seen that coming out of this, I think this is going to force the industry to adopt things like auto showings. We're trying to cut down with the human interaction. So, we use a company called Rently. We've also started doing some cool things with Matterports. And those are 2 things that if owners are looking for ways to lease in this current environment where we don't know if we can allow showings, that's, Denver, it's kind of not allowed. And so those are just some cool things that we've been doing that people can look into is shooting the Matterports. It's a virtual walkthrough, doing video walkthroughs. I know that Zillow is offering some of this stuff. So those are kind of some of the leasing tips that just trying to make your system as kind of hands-off as possible, just to make sure that we're not kind of aiding in the spread of this, but still able to lease properties.
Outstanding. So great. This has been extremely helpful, and we'll definitely be doing this. My plan is to do it every single month until the crisis subsides. If people want to learn more about you, GK Houses, get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, website is a great place, gkhouses.com. You can email me directly. It's gray.hall@gkhouses.com. Gray is spelled Gray. I think it'll be in the show notes as well. So email me, go to our website. Our office phone number is on there. Feel free to reach out to me directly if you got any kind of further questions on this data points or kind of what I'm seeing. Happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks, Gray. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.